Hello and welcome. Another edition of Coach's Corner, where each and every Thursday evening, Coach Dave Serrano and myself spend some time talking with college baseball coaches all across the country, all levels, all divisions. And this week, unfortunately, Coach Serrano had a passing in his family. His father passed away. And so we send our condolences and our prayers out to the entire Serrano family. And this week, we are going to take a deep dive to a program that is very near and dear to my heart as a former high school student back in the day of dinosaurs in the late 70s and 80s. In Massachusetts, you always had a desire to attend St. Leo's University, and that was because of alums such as Jim Corsi, J.P. Ricciardi, Bobby Tewksbury, a famous alum named Bobby Gibbrey. But today we're going to talk with Rick Odette, head baseball coach at St. Leo University in Florida. Rick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Walter.
You're very, very welcome. And, this is, I met Rick a couple weeks ago at a Florida high school coaches convention. I'm playing leadoff and he's batting cleanup in the speakers lineup. And so I asked Rick if he would be kind enough to join us, and he was really kind and allowed us to get some time together. And Rick, I want to share with folks right out of the gate the history of St. Leo baseball specifically. It is a very prominent baseball program, regardless of the division. It is an NCAA Division II school. But share with us a little bit about what makes St. Leo so special as far as college baseball is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Walter, again for having me. I think St. Leo, the big part is it's for years it was considered a hidden gem. It's one of those spots that you can come down and play in, arguably the best Division II baseball program and conference in the country. And it's been a spot that, I think people came down. Once they came down, they loved it. A lot of those guys that you just talked of obviously have made their name in the professional levels and higher up throughout baseball once they left St. Leo. But I think just as importantly is the guys who leave this place are people that are connected to it forever, through friendships and through winning and obviously the baseball side. And I was, being a Midwest guy, we used to come down here for our spring break. And I always thought to myself, wow, what a beautiful spot this is. And you can kind of see where it was starting to develop a little bit more. And really over my 7 years now, the place has changed drastically around us. The institution itself has, you come on campus now, and what I was always told, it was, orange groves and, in country and so on. And now we have 2 brand new man-made lagoons that are within the area. There's outlet malls and all that type of stuff, which some of it is sad. There's no question, but it still has its same feel. We're a couple miles off the highway, so we're still kind of secluded off of I-75, but yet we can get to everything fairly easy. And I think when you come down here, and a lot of people will always say you start to talk about, playing baseball in Florida. Who doesn't want to play baseball in Florida, no matter where you're living? And now we've made it a place that, and it's been a place for a long time that people want to win, people want to have good baseball, and obviously get a great education. And that's something we've been able to provide. And, since I've been here, we've been very fortunate to put some good teams on the field and give our guys an opportunity to be exposed and play at the next level. And, we just think it's a great place. And again, it's not as much hidden as it once was. But from the same end of it, we've taken our history with what we've had with this newer success and tried to tie them in together. And it's been a great start to my career here.
Well, one of the things that I try to encourage parents and student athletes to do is really take a deep dive when you're going through, the college search process and into these schools that really are what I call hidden gems. And when you start talking about St. Leo and the schedule that you play from a baseball perspective, Flagler, Nova, Barry, Lynn, you're and Eckerd, you're really starting to talk Rollins. You're talking about some of the best NCAA Division II baseball in the country. In fact, I haven't even mentioned University of Tampa. When you start to throw all of these schools out there, one could make an argument that you're really you're not only playing at a high level for Division II, you're playing at a high level for college baseball. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think it's 9 of the last 18 years the national champions come out of our league. So, all those teams you talked about, are serious about baseball. And I think when you get a league that is investing in it, and now the situation of being able to tie a great high school player and also a transfer player together, it's really causing, a lot of havoc on our league. There's a lot more. Tampa has been, obviously, Joe has done a fantastic job and, as good as anybody in the country. But the greatest part is I think our whole league is now putting in, resources to make baseball better. And that's been something that I've looked forward to. And part of the reason I came here is that they wanted to be serious about it and they want to win. And we can do that in a place like this. And it's been a great spot.
Now, I want to touch on that a little bit because, it's a difficult subject for parents right now to try and understand the monster of the portal. And how does that play into your recruiting, and where does the high school student athlete fit with regard to your recruiting as a staff?
Well, it's crazy. Things have changed. The place I came from at St. Joseph's College, Indiana, we were all pretty well high school guys. We'd get a transfer here or there, but that was a lot of the norm, and then you came down here. When I came down here, there was a lot more transfers than I had been around. But it wasn't to the level that it is now. And now with the way the transfer portal has worked, and I think what happened has happened is you better adapt or you're going to get left behind. I think that becomes a conversation with every coach, right? You're trying to figure it out. The hard part is we've always been in a situation where we've been strategic of how we went and got players because we don't, for one, want to run them off. And for another, we want to be able to develop. And now it seems everything seems to be faster. From the high school piece for us, we go and we've kind of been in that 5 to 7 guys, at least the last few years here, 5 to 7 high school guys that we think can be immediate impact type of guys within the first 2 years that they're here. And arguably, you'd like to see that first year if he can help us immediately. If not, we've got some development, obviously, that we're still working at. I mean, that's our bread and butter, right? Like if you're not developing players at this level, you're probably not very good. And, from the same end, every transfer for a reason, for whatever that might be, good or bad. It might not be their fault, but everybody does transfer for a reason. But everybody also has to work on their game no matter where they came from. So just because they went to a Power 5 school doesn't mean he's an immediate impact for our place. So there are, which I think is interesting for us is because we can do it both. We can get the high school guy, then add the transfer. So we're going to be in that 5 to 7 range from a high school standpoint. And depending on what our needs are, we'll fill those gaps with the transfer guys. And the other thing is they're dealing with is we're just getting on the back end of this, with COVID. So like I have a guy who, our second baseman, one of the best, guys in our league, he is going to come back. He's 25 years old. And he's going to be our second baseman. And he started at Cal State Bakersfield for 2 years, got injured one of those years, went to a California junior college for 2 years. They didn't play, came here, and he still has a year left. And he didn't anticipate on coming back. And then he's like, hey, I can finish my master's. I'd like to come back if you had me. And it's, it becomes difficult because how do you not take that kid, back? Because he does help you. But from the same end, there's some tough conversations you have to have because you can't keep a roster of 50. Right now we're at that 42 range. We want to be in the 38 range. But I also don't run guys off. So, but we're completely honest and upfront and transparent with them that they know what their situation is. So it is tough to say, Walter, that there's a right way to do it. I don't think anybody can say that because it seems to be evolving. And now they're talking about multiple transfers being allowed. Like there is every day, there's a different, situation coming at us.
Well, I want to kind of stay on that topic because I like to have parents and athletes that are informed. And one of the questions I get asked is, do you foresee, they'll say, are the ages of college baseball going to be in that 19 to 23 range for the foreseeable future? And in some cases, it's 20 to 23. But would you agree that the game itself at the college level is older, and for the most part, with regard to the portal component, it's probably going to stay that way? Would you agree?
It sure seems like it. I mean, obviously, these are kind of uncharted territory for us, but I do. I think it's going to stay older. I think it's, it's prime example. My son is, a freshman in college this year, and he's in a junior college situation, a great one for him. But it was, okay, I just compare it this way. Here's an 18-year-old kid that is 6'2", 170 pounds. And then I have a 25-year-old man sitting right next to him. There's a big difference. But now I also have a freshman this year that's 6'5", 215, physical and ready to play. So it's not that, there's not a one size fit all, but yeah, I think it's going to be older. I think this is the way it's going to be for a little bit. And to be honest, I don't know that it's going to really go away either. So I do think this. I think the junior college situation. I think Division II level. I think we're actually in the long run, our baseball will get better because especially now, the one thing we didn't talk about is the NIL money. It's
Right.
not at this level really, but I mean there are schools, even schools that are non-Power Fives, that are giving some money away. But I also think that might hurt, and this is my opinion only, but it may hurt some of those low to mid-level Division I's because how do they compete with kids who are getting money, even in the baseball world, which we never thought would ever happen. Maybe not as much as basketball and football are getting, but they're getting money to play now. So it's going to be interesting what happens in the next couple of years here.
Well, I foresee a couple of big changes. I see a mega division of college sports coming, and then I see a mid-major or whatever we want to quantify or call them. But you bring up an interesting point that it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. I try to stress to parents and student athletes whenever I'm asked, skill or strength. And I always try to say to potential high school athletes, most athletes at the high school level have skill, but they don't have strength. If you want to be recruited as a now caliber student athlete, you need that physicality, that strength, so that when your feet hit campus at St. Leo, you're competing with men. So can you talk a little bit about the strength development piece that may benefit high school student athletes to kind of add that into their workouts rather than chasing the skill rabbit all 12 months a year?
Well, I think that's what, it's funny you talk about this. I say it every day, like, as important as it is to get to the cage and throw your bullpens and your long toss and your ground balls and all this skill set, drills that you're doing, that's huge. No question. You can't replace that. It's just as important, if not more important, to get in the weight room to eat. Now I'll say this: I was 5'11", 145 pounds, graduating high school, and next thing you know, I grew 3 inches in 40 pounds in my freshman year of college. Like that 3 inches had anything to do with the weight room or how much I was eating. But I'll say this: kids think that they're eating the right way or enough. They're not. I have an alarm set on my phone at 9:00 every night right now since my son's been home, and I make him 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because if I put them on the table, so he has to eat them every night. That's that big of a deal. And I'm not babying him, but I want him to understand how important I think it is. Like for us, we have great strength conditioning people here. They are fantastic. But I show up to the weight room every lift at 5:45 in the morning and stretch with them because I want them to realize how important I think it is. Because if you are not physical or you're not strong, baseball becomes a lot harder, especially in this age of older baseball. These are grown adults now. They're not that wiry 18-year-old kid as much anymore. It's got to be quicker. And now kids are more, informed now than ever. I think there's more information for the good or the bad. There's more information than ever. So I do think kids are taking the weight room way harder, or way more serious than when I was playing. I'm old, but when I showed up, the football team worked out. You know what I mean? And
right.
It was the basics of the basics. Now it's, if you don't have a strength person, you're probably behind.
So one look at your roster, and I see California, I see Illinois, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. You're seeing a lot of student athletes. When I check other rosters within your division, I see similar patterns. My point is parents really need to open up their search because, your conference, the Sunshine State Conference, you're open to baseball players, quality baseball players, regardless of where you live. So how do you recruit these out-of-state athletes from across the country? How do you and your staff kind of handle that? How do you travel, and who do you see, and how do you see them?
Well, I think it starts with people like yourself, right? You get to trust people that, if they're not, if it's in Florida, that's easy. We can get to those people fairly quickly. Then it starts with word of mouth. And then a lot of times what will happen if it's in Georgia or if it's down here in the tournaments throughout the Florida area, we come and see, like this early group. We've got a kid out of Ohio. He started out with a team that ran out of there that we've known forever. He shows up in Florida. We went and go to see him in Palm Beach, and we follow him around, and it was great. Same thing on a kid out of Long Island. Same conversation so it starts with that conversation, and then obviously us getting to tournaments or us people sending stuff, camps. I think for years people said, "Oh, it's a money grab. Don't go to their camp." Well,
right
now, especially the way the Division I rule is, you have to go to the camps if you want early recruiting because of the restrictions. So I would say get to a spot that makes sense. I've always said that if it's not about where, you shouldn't brag about where you're going, you should brag about where you went. So when I'm done, for myself, if my kid's done with school and he's bragging about where he went to school, he picked the right place. So many people want to brag about my son's playing at this level or my son playing at this level. And I'm not even talking about D1 to D2. I'm talking about good D3s, good junior college, NAIA schools. There's a lot of really good baseball that fits people differently. And in this day and age, if you want to keep playing and get yourself, opportunity to be seen, it's a lot easier than ever, to be seen. Now, it's a lot harder to get drafted because of the number of rounds there are. But
right.
I do think that, get yourself out in front of the right people. For myself, to send my son to a Power 5 camp last year would have just been giving money away. He's not ready for that. I think you have to be realistic to where he might fit and where the best fit is for him academically, socially, and then obviously baseball ties in.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the academic component to St. Leo. What are some of the majors of choice with regard to potential student athletes? What makes St. Leo's a desirable university from an academic perspective?
Well, our biggest major is the business umbrella. So when I say that, there's a number. We have guys that are in every walk of it. I have sports business, which is a really well-known degree here. Sports business is not just your typical sports management for the kids who didn't want to, that wanted to play, baseball and then be go to school to stay eligible. It's a true degree. It's a real degree. We have a bunch of sports business. I have a bunch of accounting guys. I have bio guys. I've got guys that are in med school right now. So it's a very well-rounded liberal arts school, an institution that offers plenty. We're also known for criminal justice, cybersecurity, and it's a really good setup because we have online education when it comes to our master's program. So you can actually be advanced and keep moving your way into the master's while you're within your time here at St. Leo. So it is from an academic standpoint, I think our biggest sell, of course, those majors are fantastic, but it's the people. We're at 12-to-1 student to teacher ratio. There are options to have hybrid classes or online classes. So we have a lot of flexibility within our institution. Like today, our team GPA is a 3.45. So today I'm bringing our faculty athletic rep out to lunch today when we're done here. So it's one of those situations that, those people matter. And the great thing is our players matter to him. So it's just a really, really good, I feel a good atmosphere that guys can get academically challenged, get a great degree, and actually get to know who their professors are also.
Well, Rick, I am really appreciative of the time that you have taken during this extremely busy week, not only from the St. Leo's and baseball perspective, but the holiday season as well. And I want to ask you, because this is a great way for parents to hear directly from a college coach of your caliber, email blasting or just sending random emails. How does a prospective student athlete that has a sincere interest in St. Leo as a potential fit academically and athletically truly capture your attention or someone on your staff's attention to say, hey, I think I'm a fit for your program? Is it social media? Is it email? Is it video? What is it that it takes to get noticed by you
I'll
or
tell
your
you, I'll
staff?
be honest, it is a little everything. I think obviously the connection to the place is, to cold call anybody for doing anything is difficult. We get so many emails. We're probably getting, myself, I probably get 75 to 100 emails a day, and I'd be lying to you to say I can open up and read and watch every video and doing all that. But I think the biggest thing is start where it makes sense, right? Like if you have an opportunity, I think the first part is do it on the front end rather than send out, 1,000 emails to 1,000 different places. Why don't you lock your search into 20 places? I think that would be the route. Lock your search into 20 places. By the way, go to practice. They're free. Go to a game.
Amen. Yeah.
It's minimal money. You know what I mean? Go see where you really fit with honest eyes, though. Not just because you faced a guy that went to St. Leo, is going to St. Leo, and you got 2 hits doesn't mean you can play there. And the same thing, just because you struck out and you had a bad game doesn't mean you can't play here either. But go to where you can go around, see the guys, see what the ability looks like, no matter if it's at St. Leo or somewhere in the Northeast, wherever, go there. Like if it's really one of your list, minimize your list and don't throw the big net out, because you have to fit. Okay, do they have a major that I might be interested in? How long is the coach going to be there? How long has he been there? What's the history of the place? Is this where I can live at? As beautiful as Florida, and we love the Tampa area, it's not for everybody. So can you live there? Can you travel away from home? There's nothing worse, because my first conversation is, okay, what's your GPA? Okay, if you're a transfer, how many hours are you going to transfer? You're going to get your associates if you're in junior college. And if you're a 4-year guy, are you going to be in that good academic standing? And then the next thing comes is, hey, can you leave home? Everybody loves the idea, but like when you can't go home for the 2-day weekend because we got off one weekend, are you okay being here away from your family? Because that's a real conversation. Because the one thing that never changes is the distance from where you live to where we're at. That won't change. That number is concrete for you. So if the distance, if you can only go 3 to 5 hours away from home because that's where you're most comfortable, then start finding schools within that time, within that circle, and then expand, if something changes or needs to be adjusted. But you have to have some more knowledge. People just want to throw either a service out there or just want to throw these mass emails and think, what? I don't know. I don't know why they're not recruiting me, or blaming their high school or travel coach or whoever. Like, you have to do your own research. You can't pay. Like, if I did a lesson with a kid, okay, and he's 8 years old, and I played catch with him, and he struggles to play catch. Okay, and the next time he plays catch is a week later, don't expect a different result. So you have to put your own work into it. You have to understand what that means, of really start to circle things up and go, hey, I can't play at Florida, but I wonder if I can play here. Go check it out. Can you play here? Yes or no? You might not be able to. Okay, and give yourself a realistic conversation. If once you get there, evaluate. And again, you're seeing a short, window of it, but go find yourself a situation that you can actually evaluate and be like, okay, do I look like these guys? Do I play like these guys? Do I think I could play higher? Do I think I should go lower? Or whatever that means. And the thing is, there's good Division III programs that can beat good D2s, and good D3s that can beat D1s, and D2s that we can go definitely beat Division I schools. Like, and D1s can lose to us. Like, get that out of your mind. Now when you're doing that, if winning is important to you, find schools that win. If they're 20 under, don't expect one guy to change it. So you've got to really understand it, because I have guys who turn me down that, my dream has always been to play Division I baseball, and they show up there and we put so much work into this. And then every time you go home, 3/4 of the time you're disappointed because you lost. Like, I don't know. That's a tough pill to swallow for me.
Well, I think the whole mindset, and I think the narrative, back in the day of Division I or bust kind of mentality, those days officially ended in 2020. It officially ended, and it's not just due to COVID. name, image, and likeness. The transfer portal changes, the recruiting calendar changes. Everything has changed. And now the landscape of college baseball, top to bottom, Division III, NCAA to Division I, at any one given time period, everybody competes against each other. It's depth on the mound that separates, those teams that are, elite from the teams that struggle. It's all about the depth on the bump. So, Rick, I cannot thank you enough. I know in my heart, based on numerous amounts of friends and former teammates that have played at St. Leo's, Division II baseball, it's not anything less than, say, an SEC or any Power 5 school you want to put in there. The only difference is, again, is the number of arms that you can parade out on any one given weekend that separates Division I and Division II at the St. Leo level. I know that for a fact. And I want to say thank you for taking the time. I'm glad we were able to catch up with each other at the Florida High School Convention. And I'm really grateful for your time. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday to you and your entire family. And at any time, if you as a parent or a student athlete want to reach out to Coach, I'm going to have all of the contact information in the description of not only the podcast, but also the broadcast version of this. So we'll put everything down, social media handles, emails, and we'll make sure that you have the ability to contact Coach Odette. Rick, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule today.
Thank you, Walter. Merry Christmas, and I appreciate everything you do for baseball as a whole.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And folks, if you like the content, again, Coach Serrano and I really put some time into this to try to get as much information out there. Go ahead and subscribe. It's free. It's painless. All that does is it notifies you when any new content is put up via the podcast or on YouTube or social media. So thank you very much. Happy holidays to everyone, and have a great week in baseball.